In a true speaker box and the Love Below theme here, Mac, we
Mhm.
have both created intros to this episode. Do you
Yes.
want your intro or do you want my intro?
We'll do them both. So
We're gonna do both, obviously. Do you want to go first or second?
I'll go first. Go!
Yeah, Mac.
We just watched a movie about cars and racing vehicles, and I ask you, what was your dream vehicle when you were a kid?
Great question. When I was in first or second grade, I wanted to be a taxi cab driver. So that would be my dream car.
That is not a car, that is a profession. Did you
Yep.
want to be the Jimmy Fallon, Queen Latifah type of taxi cab driver, or
Well, as the writer of the movie Taxi Cab, was it just Taxi? It was just Taxi, starring Jimmy Fallon and Queen Latifah. Yes, that was my dream. I wanted that specific job
okay,
with that
all
car.
right. Yeah,
How about you, Mac?
you can ask me.
Hey,
So I'll give you the unrealistic one, the one if I made millions and millions of dollars. When I stumbled upon the McLaren F1 as like a 10 or 11-year-old, this is the first ever street legal vehicle that had the driver's seat in the middle and then 2 passenger seats on the side. So it was a 3 in the front. Well, it's just one row, really. And it was modeled, of course, after F1 vehicles with the center driver. I thought that was the coolest fucking thing ever. And I think the car looks awesome. The more realistic thing, I loved the Plymouth Prowler as a kid. The open wheel design on the front, really loved that fucking thing. I also had an affinity for the old school Dodge Durango. I liked the look of that. So those were the 3 that really bounced around my head as a child.
Want to ask me mine? My open question?
Goo, you had a dueling banjos type of situation here. I had one, you had one. What is your opening question?
Could you drive a race car?
1000% yes. I actually think I'd be pretty good at it. You know what I fucking love? And I don't do it enough because there's no room for a 36-year-old man to be racing go-karts.
Yes.
Go-karts. Like the K1 experience, F1 Boston, all that shit is a blast, and I get super into it, really into it. I also think it has a little bit to do, as we've seen with Lewis Hamilton and these new school F1 racers. They grow up in these simulators, these video game style training systems, and I've always been good at video games. So I think I don't think I like ever could race professionally, but I could race the car and not crash it. F1's obviously a little different than fucking NASCAR, just going around left-hand turns, left-hand turns for fucking 300 miles. I would love to drive an F1 vehicle though. I like going fast. That's one of my favorite things to do, but in a vehicle and any sort of mode of transportation. Snowmobiling, you ever go snowmobiling, Goo? It's incredibly awesome, and you can go very fast. It is dangerous. Goo.
Yes.
I already know the answer, but do you think you could drive a race car?
No, I could not.
I don't even know if you break the speed limit on the highway.
Here's the thing. I don't like going fast.
Mhm.
And the reason why is because when I'm going a speed, whether it's driving, skiing, snowboarding, anything like that, I feel like I'm out of control.
Okay.
And I hate feeling out of control. I like to be in control of what I'm doing and my surroundings. Also, especially with F1, I feel like that's a real claustrophobic situation.
So there is something to be said about that. Sure.
Yes.
Yeah, I get that part of it.
I don't like that.
Yeah, I don't know if I would want to do it for 3 hours. But I'd like to do a couple laps, see what that's all about.
That's what you tell all of your lady friends.
1, Goo, 3, yeah! Goo. Jaws 3. Goo. King of Queens. Goo. Meryl Streep. Goo. Entertainment.
I'm Goo.
And I'm Mac.
And we have a need for going a regular speed.
You do.
Yeah, me.
I like to go over the limit and test the limits. Today we are just
65. Why is he going so fast? Why is he up my bum?
Today we are discussing F1, the movie. It was just called F1 up until like 2 weeks ago, and then they retitled it to F1 the movie because apparently people might have been confused. Who knows?
My wife hates when I tell her that I'm going the pace of traffic.
Well, typically, if you're in Massachusetts, if you're going the speed of traffic in the left lane, it's gonna be 10 to 20 miles per hour
Well,
over
no,
the
but
speed
even
limit.
if I'm
Should
yeah,
be.
if I'm going like 75, why aren't you going faster? Pace of traffic.
Fair enough. Fair
Yeah.
enough. Go. You won't get pulled over for that, so that's credit to you.
That's how I live my life. I
Uh,
have so many driving speeding tickets
like
in my
this
younger
life in the fast lane, goose life in the middle lane.
days.
F1 the movie, Goo, just opened this past weekend. $55.6 million on the domestic open, 144 million total globally. Goo, this is very interesting. We have not had a confirmed budget yet. I've read anywhere between 200 and 300 million. That is a drastic difference from 2 to 3. And honestly, might be the difference between this movie making money or not, because as well as it's getting reviewed so far, it doesn't quite seem to have the push as Maverick had a couple years ago, right? It
No.
just isn't hitting the same
And
exact way.
also, when you look at the movie too, it doesn't have that like extra little bit of magic or sparkle that Maverick had too.
No, I agree. I totally agree. And so we'll see how this plays out. But obviously, pretty solid opening, number one at the box office. This is a PG-13 action, drama, and sports movie subgenre, car action and motorsport. You know,
Oh, also 1 second. So I know that we're not talking about this movie, but I am so happy that M3gan 2.0 bombed.
yeah, it's
I have
not doing
never
well
been
anymore.
happier. And like, I want other things to succeed. But when I saw the trailer to M3gan 2.0, I said, what the fuck is this? I hate this. And I haven't even seen the movie.
And they've been marketing it for like 6 months. So that's real bad
Yeah.
for them. Goo, F1, the movie has a runtime of 155 minutes. I don't know what the average runtime of an F1 race is. I should have looked that up. That would have been a nice little fun fact.
Oh,
for
do
the
you
folks.
know about F1 racing?
I know a little bit. So
When they were doing their technicalities in this movie, you were
Mhm.
like, bump drafting.
I knew a little bit of it because I watched the first season of the Netflix series, which I think is on like season 8 now. But it is an informative series, and really, what that series really does is dive into the team dynamic of the sport, which
Yeah.
I don't think people really understand. Like, as Americans, we know so little about F1. Most Americans know so little about NASCAR, but NASCAR, it's one team, one driver. F1 is one team, two drivers. So it's a different dynamic altogether. It's a pretty interesting dynamic, honestly.
Can
So
you drive a stick?
no. Well, I mean, in the 2 attempts I've had, I've stalled out both times. I think if
Oh.
I spent an hour, I'd be able to do it, but I don't want to learn how to do it.
Is there a debate online about this? I heard someone talking about it the other day of if your plane was crashing and they said, can someone land this plane?
Mhm.
Would you volunteer to land the plane?
This has been a debate for like 3 years, Goose. So you're a little
Okay,
late to
well,
this.
you've never brought it up. I'm the first one bringing it to the table.
I'm
So
pretty sure we've talked about this.
tardy
Um,
to the party.
I absolutely, if, as long as you have people in your ear telling you what to do, I could take instructions. I'm a problem solver. I could absolutely land a plane.
You gonna ask me?
The answer is no. The
The
answer
answer is no. I get the yips when I'm parallel parking.
My pal Jimmy Brennan works on space planes, and he has a lot of pilot friends. And
Yeah.
so I asked him when this was hot in the streets a couple years ago. He goes, honestly, you probably could. He's like, people are kind of making it sound like it's too easy, but as long as you have someone in your ear, you have the flight tower would be probably talking you through it. And there are a million buttons, but we just saw the rehearsal. Nathan Fielder became a pilot. Now, he did hundreds of hours of training, but it's not as improbable as a lot of people seem to make it out. And I think it's also pretty intuitive. And so if you have any inkling of I think, I don't know. Like, I don't think I would volunteer, but if the room was silent for like 10 seconds, the plane was silent, I'm like, all right, I'll give it a try. Because if we're gonna die either way, I might as well take my life into my hands, right? But you would rather just put your life into someone else's hands.
I did just see the series premiere of Tailspin. It's a 4-episode arc, of course. And,
Right.
Baloo, I would just do what Baloo does. You pull up on the handle as quick as you can and just hold it up.
That's how you do it, yeah.
Curve up like that. You know what else I have the yips with right now? I mentioned my parallel parking. I get the yips sometimes.
Really?
Right now, I have the yips when it comes to breaking eggs.
Oh, so how do you do it? What's your traditional method?
If I'm doing fried eggs, I
Yep.
just crack them right on the skillet. But
I don't
the
like that.
issue right now is that when I'm cracking them, they aren't fully cracking, and then the egg is, like, seeping out of, like, a couple holes, and it's not fully cracking in half.
So I usually just do a scramby because it's the easiest one. Usually too, like I'll do the egg into a bowl, mix them up 3 or 4 eggs, right? So I got a
Yeah.
fork. So what I do, Goo, I hold the egg, whapa, crack it with the fork because it makes a nice seam, and then
On.
it works well. It works quite well. Because I also find sometimes the skillet, the consistency. If you try to do it on the side of the bowl of skillet, sometimes it leaks in there. You get the shell in there. I don't care for that. You know the hack to getting the shell pieces out, though, right?
I use my fingers.
No, you use the shell. You use the half shell, and it scoops the other piece of the shell easier than your finger does.
Oh, I usually put my finger on the hot skillet.
Try the fork method, Goo. F1 the movie on
Yeah.
Roddy T's. 83% from the critics, 97% from the audience. I totally understand it. A 68 on Metacritic. I get all of that. The critics are saying, like, baseline, this is a good movie. The audience is like, yeah, we love an underdog sports movie. And that's
I
what we're
think
dealing with here.
that's what they were going for. Baseline, good movie.
Yeah,
That's it.
I think they accomplished that.
Yeah.
I'll give them that. I'll give them that. And to be honest with you, I enjoyed this movie, and as it was climaxing, I was like somewhat interested in it. I wasn't super invested, but I kind of was because Brad Pitt's the man, right? And that's a big part of this movie. This movie was written by Aaron Kruger and Joseph Kosinski. Kosinski, obviously the director as well. You would know Aaron Kruger from Scream 3, Reindeer Games, The Ring, Transformers Revenge of the Fallen, Transformers Dark of the Moon, Transformers Age of Extinction, Dumbo, a Mac and Goo favorite, and Top Gun Maverick. Also, Kosinski, this is only his second writing credit. His only other one was Twisters, which I don't even think he directed. Again, directed by Kosinski. He directed Tron Legacy, Oblivion, Only the Brave, Top Gun Maverick, and Spiderhead. So yeah, he didn't direct Twisters. And I would say about Kosinski, he has really figured out how to put the common theater goer, the viewer, like
Yes.
in the driver's seat of these action movies, these sports movies. He does a really good job of like setting the scene and making you feel what maybe a driver or a pilot would feel. The way he shoots things is really good for this genre.
You mentioned the movie Reindeer Games. Maybe the greatest moment in podcasting history
Mhm.
was on How Did This Get Made? That is the Paul Scheer, June Diane Raphael, Jason Mantzoukas podcast where they look at bad movies and they break it down, they talk about it. And when Jason Mantzoukas puts 2 and 2 together, that Ben Affleck's character is named Rudy in the movie, like Rudolph, he loses his mind. And it is the greatest like come to moment I have
Yeah.
ever heard ever.
Yeah, that's true light bulb moment. That is awesome. Goo, if you are a Kosinski guy, and I think at this point a lot of people are, he's got 2 projects in the works here. Upcoming is a Miami Vice movie, which might be cool and fun in the Kosinski style, and then an untitled UAP disclosure thriller.
Mhm.
I don't know what that's going to be, but maybe that'll be great as well. Synopsis for F1, the movie: a Formula One driver comes out of retirement to mentor and team up with a younger driver.
To
Yes,
change some diapers.
that is what this movie
I
is.
didn't know they were giving things for senior citizens.
Oi!
Oi.
This movie stars Brad Pitt as Sonny Hayes, Damson Idris as Joshua Pierce, Javier Bardem as Ruben Cervantes, Kerry Condon as Kate McKenna, and Tobias Menzies as Peter Banning.
So they all did good, but we can say this. Without the coolness of Brad Pitt, I don't know if they pull this off.
Yeah, there's 2 or 3 people on this planet that can carry this movie the way Brad Pitt does. Brad Pitt, in his elderly age, what's he, 55, 60 years old? He's getting up there.
Mhm.
In his age, he's still inherently cool. And
Yes.
also not just like cool guy, sport coat, cool, athletic, like
Yes.
legit built, looks like an athlete, and really pulls off this role like no other. And he carries this movie, no doubt.
Especially when the dialogue in this movie, it was written in one-liners. There is no there's no paragraph. It's just one-liner back and forth, and it's delivered as cool as possible.
Yeah, I thought the script for this movie was pretty weak. It's not a very good script. It just is a bare bones sports underdog story that they throw in or they throw at one of the greatest stars in the world. And
It's
because of
also
that
wildly
and the direction, it
Yeah.
works.
It's wildly predictable.
Yep.
There's no there's kind of conflict, but we don't know who it's against for most of the movie. There's kind of a love interest. We do get some of that, but also like when you really hit the apex of what Sonny is going through, it kind of gets rushed, and then you don't feel like how important it is.
You mean Apex Racing?
Apex Racing, that's the reason why it came to my mind.
Goo, I also, so you speak of the love interest, Kerry Condon. You know what I discovered during this movie? I have a Kerry Condon thing. I really liked her. I thought she
I
was
think
great.
you could put anyone in any movie, Mac will see them and then say, you know what? I have a thing for that person.
I very much really enjoyed Kerry Condon in this movie. I also really liked Javier Bardem in a subdued role. We don't see Bardem in a subdued role that often.
Dude, but he's pretty loud in this movie, though.
He's loud in the way that an owner is, but as far as Javier Bardem goes, I thought he did a nice job being a subdued character for the most part. I thought the weakest character in this movie was Joshua Pierce, played by Damson Idris. I've never seen him in anything before. Fighting out of his weight class a little bit with the other actors on the screen, it didn't come across as believable, I guess, as everyone else. And then our quote unquote bad sort of here is Tobias Menzies as Peter Banning. He was okay. Like, he's the one that, there's the whole thing surrounded upon
I think
in the
we're
third
also
act.
looking at it. So we're comparing it to Top Gun Maverick. I have a shirt on, #Fryer. But you look at it, and so Brad Pitt in Top Gun Maverick is not Brad Pitt. It's Tom Cruise. And the asshole in that movie is Glenn Powell. Glenn Powell is such a better asshole than Damson Idris.
Yeah.
So the way that Powell plays the asshole, you believe that he is that cocky, he is that confident. And then if there is an issue where he has to kind of take it down a peg, like you can see that shell kind of crack on him. Damson Idris, or let's not even blame the actor, but Joshua Pierce is just such a weak, I didn't get any of that cocky, confident attitude from him.
Yeah, and it's a good point too, and I just said it 2 minutes ago. I shouldn't be as harsh on Joshua or on Damson Idris because the script and the writing isn't great in this movie, so he didn't have much to work with. And I'm trying not to compare it to Maverick. Of course, that's what really how Kosinski made his name, because that movie is just inherently like the enemy and the stakes are just better than it's going to be in this movie. Like this movie, like the stakes aren't that high because it's not life and death really. I mean, they try to punch it up to that point, but it's just not at that point.
They also punch it up too late.
I do like that they're dropping in, what happened to Pitt, 30 years ago and why he got to this point. It's just the script isn't great. It's as simple as that, right? It's your classic sports underdog story you've seen 1,000 times. And now we've seen the old dog come in, teach the young, brash character. We've seen that 1,000,000 times. We like it though, because the directing is great. We haven't been put in the cockpit of a racing movie like this ever. Also Hans Zimmer's score is great, as it always is. It really helps this movie, props this movie up. And of course, Brad Pitt is great. So those three things prop up a weak script. Separate from Hans Zimmer, the soundtrack in this movie was not great. It was like lazy. It didn't add to the movie. It might have taken away from it a little bit.
You know what it reminded me of was Air. Like every time in Air where they put on a song from the soundtrack, it almost took me out of the scene. It didn't add to any of the scenes.
It actually, what I felt like, and Kosinski wrote this movie, so maybe there's some relation there. It felt like all the songs that didn't make the cut for Twisters got shoved into F1. That's what it felt like to me.
I don't know why, but I just thought of what's that Linkin Park song of What I've Done?
Yeah, it's called What I've Done.
I'm picturing that song in this movie now.
That's the end of the first Transformers movie or the second?
Is it? That's the reason why I thought of it, because one of these people wrote Transformers, right?
Yeah, no, he didn't write the first one, though. He wrote the second, third, and fourth ones.
So he has nothing to do with that.
What I've done. And then Optimus Prime's calling to the stars,
Oh, shit.
Megan Fox, 2007. Shout out.
Should we get to the Nonagon?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, fun factor. Driving in cars is fun. I was confused at points because I didn't know how long laps were. I didn't know the rules of F1, but I did learn about teamwork.
So what they talk about in this movie, but they don't show it. They show it a little bit when Sonny, played by Pitt, and Joshua Pierce, the younger one, are like qualifying at home at their home track. A big part of F1 racing is the qualifying before the race, and that's where your pole position is. So they didn't muddy things up. They kept it pretty simple, which I liked. But this movie's fun because people are driving shit fast and there's crashes. Like, it's fun. It's a fun movie.
How about satisfactor? Were you satisfied?
A bit, just enough, right? It's the sports underdog story, and we get just enough of the satisfactor at the end to be like, okay, it was worth the ride.
You're not a has-been. You're a never was. I think we can go forever without hearing that line ever again.
Yeah, that's not a bad call.
When they threw it at us, I'm like, okay, it makes sense in here because that's what this script is.
Yeah.
But I think we can stop with this.
Yeah, agreed.
Borometer. They did a good job of, I was never really bored. I never really felt the runtime.
Yeah.
But what we got, like the overall average score of the runtime, I don't think like there's super high peaks, but there's also no low valleys.
Yeah, and for being 2 hours and 35 minutes, it's on the longer side. You're right. For a movie that I didn't love, I wasn't that bored because a lot of the downtime is like you're hanging out with Pitt, or it's Pitt doing this or doing that. And also a really strong score helps those in between things. Like Hans Zimmer helps this movie along big time.
You know what the person next to me did at the end of the movie?
What?
They cheered and fist pumped.
And then the screen paused mid fist pump.
And I just looked around. I'm like, what the fuck is happening? Where is Mac? I want to annoy him and eat a burrito next to him. Sit by myself at these screenings with these people. How about A Quarter World? Is this better or worse than 1995's cinematic classic Waterworld?
It is better, but this movie could have used a little more water. That's for sure.
It could have used more water. And does Waterworld have more charm?
Nah, Brad Pitt.
No, I don't think so either. Halloween. Will this wane over time? No, I think it's as solid as it will be. It's always going to be this.
I gotta be honest, it's already gone down one dog for me.
Oh.
So, but I think I'm at where it's gonna land and stay.
I mean, I walked out of the theater going, all right.
Okay. All right.
And you know what I'm going to say right now? All right. Do you think if I learn about F1, I'll like this movie more or less?
I don't really think it affects the viewing, which is a positive for this movie to the masses. If obviously F1 is way more popular around the world, but to an American audience, you didn't really need to know anything about F1 coming in. They didn't, and again, they didn't muddy it up too much with like diving into too much of the team aspect.
Because I did see Sam Libby posting about it. I guess he's a big F1 guy.
Well, a lot of people watched that Netflix series and now are F1 fans.
Right. And he was talking about like, I had to suspend my knowledge of F1 at certain points to not ruin the movie.
Yeah, because again, they're trying to market this to a wider audience. So you don't want to muddy it up. Yes.
Pants Tent City. Excite Bike Mania. Did anything get you going?
I really liked, and this is a classic trope. I really liked Brad Pitt's chaos strategies, right? That was fun. Like the old guy, bucking the trends, going against things and stuff working. That was fun for me. I enjoyed that.
I just thought that was all like, as soon as you brought him onto this team, he's going to go outside the box, and all of you nerd, all of you eggheads that have your science, you don't have this past experience that Brad Pitt has.
And because the movie is like a baseline intensity because of the racing, and that is like a certain amount of intense, there is no real Pence tent moment, but the action and the racing is pretty good throughout. You know what I mean? Like it holds your interest throughout.
Plemonade. When life gives you Plemons, you say Jesse Plemons is the best, and he shows up and he makes everything better. Did anyone do that for you? Did any small role do that for you? Even the bad guy in this movie, he's not a good enough bad guy.
I liked the team leader guy, but not Lemonade level. He was just a fun little side character. Obviously Brad Pitt's making Lemonade the whole time, but he is the movie, so you can't really award him
No,
Lemonade.
you
So
can't
no,
give it to him.
this movie did lack, a tertiary character that like punched up a scene or two.
Max Credit Union. Who are you giving credit to?
I mean, it's got to go to Brad Pitt, right? This movie is Brad Pitt. This is what we go and see Brad Pitt movies because of shit like this. It's the whole movie is Brad Pitt.
For those of you tardy to the Mac and Goo party, we rate everything on a 40 hot dog rating system. Mac, you forgot to mention this earlier. The movie also received $40 million in sponsoring their fake race car company.
Oh, I did like that dynamic of it. And Goo, you know me, I love customizing things in video games and whatnot, as do you. I liked that they built up like a good enough brand and it looked legitimate compared to all the real F1 brandings. Goo,
Yes.
for me.
No, I didn't. I just said one fun fact. I didn't give you my hot dog score.
I'm going to go first.
You thought that was my hot dog score?
I'm going to go first.
You thought that was my hot dog score. You think so little of me, my hot dog score is a fun fact.
I thought this movie was exactly what it needed to be baseline good, right? It definitely could have been better. Could have been way better.
Do you agree with me that if you saw the trailer for this movie, you know what the movie is exactly going to be?
Pretty much. And because Brad Pitt is awesome, it works. Because Kosinski can direct these action, racing type things, it works. And because Hans Zimmer's score is amazing, it works. So I have it at 32 hot dogs. Like baseline, pretty good movie, not great. It's my number 6 2025 release, but that said, it's tied with like 4 other movies in that range. So maybe in that 6 to 9 range. It falls just behind a movie, Goo, that I watched last week, now streaming on Peacock, which I actually drafted in the movie draft. A movie called The Ballad of Wallace Island.
Oh.
I recommend it's streaming for free on Peacock right now. It's just behind that, and it's tied with Novocaine, Companion, and Lilo and Stitch. So if you liked those movies, or if you understand what we're talking about, like baseline good movie, not any world breakers, I think you're going to like this movie.
I already gave you my hot dog score. The movie got $40 million from sponsors. How dare you step on me?
Ergo 40 hot dogs.
No. So this is, I don't know how this was not released on Father's Day. This is a dad movie. This is a 40 plus. Go there. You might be feeling like you're out of your prime, but you look at Brad Pitt. He's on the screen. He's teaching those little fucking babies how to drive cars. He's changing diapers. He's got the grit behind him. He doesn't need school education. He has street education.
You know what this movie was missing in regards to that? It has like the punched up rock country vibes, right?
Mm-hmm.
It needed like an 80s ballad type of vibe to really send this movie home.
This is old guy porn. This is you sitting back going, you're in 50s, you're sitting in your lazy boy, and you're like, I could do this. Yeah, Brad Pitt is me.
I'm not gonna, but I could get out of this chair right now.
I could get out of this lazy boy. I'm not gonna. Have you ever had a lazy boy chair?
I have owned a lazy boy for about 7 years.
I forgot that you're a silver spoon gray poupon boy. Brad Pitt is cool, and that really carries the movie, especially when every piece of dialogue is for him to sound cool. And only certain people can pull that off. Brad Pitt's one of them.
You know what I was thinking about at one point in this movie? And he doesn't have the awards, so it's a hard claim to make. But I think Brad Pitt is the greatest actor that's ever lived. I think he legitimately is. Because at this point, he's really playing cool guy Brad Pitt for the most part. But I think he's the only actor that I would see any movie.
So,
any movie that he's
when you say that, I think you could argue best movie star ever then.
Okay, that's sort of what I'm getting at. Yeah. Yes. Okay. Agree to agree.
If the movie wants to play with technicalities, I'm going to play with technicalities too, because Brad Pitt went out there and Bill Belichick fucking torpedo batted everyone in those first couple races, and everyone's like, I don't know what he's doing. When if the viewer at home, where I don't understand F1, I'm picking up on it, I think they would have too. It's quite predictable. It's exactly what you expected from the trailer. It lacks a true bad guy. For most of the movie, I was saying, who is this against? Who are we trying to?
Well, expectations. That's the underdog story, right? That's the bad guy. Is you just inherently
That
beating
is
expectations.
too true to life. I don't want that in my movies. I don't want to deal with expectations and the world weighing upon your shoulders. This movie looks amazing. It
It
sounds
does.
amazing. See it in
Yep.
IMAX. Have the wheels screeching in your ears. I don't love when the conflict comes in, and when the conflict does come in, it's super rushed and it's just kind of like a race car. It's just driven right past. Doesn't matter. The cops say it doesn't matter. Everyone, I would say everyone outside of Brad Pitt. No, I didn't even care about that part. 33 hot dogs.
33. Okay, I was 33 yesterday. I'm 32 today, so I get it. We're one and the same there. We both went in with the same expectation, and it met our expectation.
Yes.
Goose, spoilers. It's
Spoilers.
really not much to spoil here. The quote unquote twist in this movie is Tobias Menzies' Peter Banning. He is Javier Bardem's Ruben Cervantes' right hand man in the board. It actually turns out he's working against Ruben, and he's the one that dimes out or tries to. He falsifies those papers, and he's trying to get the team to lose so that he can essentially make an offer and make some money on this team. I didn't mind it. It worked well enough, right? It did its job.
Was better. I think if that character was better, I would have been cool with it. But I thought that him in general, he felt like a nothing.
Yeah, it's supposed to think. I think it's supposed to be like that because it's like we weren't really rooting for or against him anyway. So then when he goes down, you're like, all right, whatever. I don't know. You're right. He could have been better. It's just, but again, that's more writing, right? Like the script is weak. It's not a strong script.
You are absolutely correct. Brad Pitt also wins the final race, and he leaves his body.
So I was curious what was going to happen there. I did like that Pierce makes the sacrifice for Sonny Hayes. I thought we were going to get a bit of a bittersweet where Pitt makes a sacrifice again.
Yeah.
I did like that ending. It was good. I actually thought that Kerry Condon and Brad Pitt had legitimate chemistry too, so that was good. I didn't necessarily need that you need to shoehorn a little love affair into this whole thing. They could have been platonic, but they're both hot people, so what are you going to do?
Hot people fuck. That's what happens.
What it is. That's the rule of society. Hot people fuck.
Like I mentioned earlier, races 3 through 4 was all Brad Pitt doing technicalities on the racetrack, and I was so confused.
Yes. So I what I didn't know, and this may be true or not, is like if you win a race, you automatically get another 3 years, which was the whole point of them winning that final race, right? Yeah. But you can score points for finishing the top 10. I knew that shit, but I didn't know like the 3-year window thing. So that was like the big stakes amongst it all. And then maybe that's why this movie was never gonna be as good as Top Gun Maverick, right? Because the stakes are never going to be as high as the United States versus another country, but it is
Top Gun Maverick. That's who it was against. It was just another country.
Yeah.
We're not saying who it is.
Right.
Just another country.
And so like going into this movie, it's hard. I think it's hard to feel strongly either way. It's hard to love it. It's hard to hate it. It's a baseline good sports movie.
Because I also didn't really know who any of the other drivers were, and none of the other drivers had anything against this race team.
Because they were so bad.
And even when they were playing dirty, though.
So the two mainstays in F1, and they have been for 7 or 8 years now, are Lewis Hamilton and Max Verstappen. So those two names I know, and they mentioned both in the final race. It's against Lewis Hamilton. You see Verstappen a couple times throughout this movie. So they also did a good job of like setting it in somewhat of a real world, which I think some people would appreciate. I just the everything besides the script in this movie was very good to great, but because the script's not great, it is what it is,
Do you want to see Sonny come back and race Tom Cruise in F2?
So now I'm curious because you had mentioned that to me before I saw this movie, and no, I don't. We got a good little cherry on top of Sonny's story. I don't need more Sonny Hayes, as much as I love Brad Pitt.
What if they're racing on the beach? Shirtless.
Okay, maybe.
You son of a bitch, you brought me right back in. Actually, that's a good question here. I'll ask you, who was shirtless more this year? Brad Pitt in this movie or Tom Cruise in Mission Impossible?
We did get like the one main scene where Cruz has to strip and get out of that wetsuit, and he's in his tidy whities. But Brad Pitt, and maybe this is what I'm getting at when I'm talking about greatest movie star of all time. Brad Pitt shirtless with pants, coolest looking guy on the planet, coolest looking guy of all time, shirtless with pants. Brad Pitt number one by a mile.
By the way, they're both in their 60s.
Yeah, are they? Is Brad Pitt 60?
He's 61. Tom
Wow.
Cruise is 62.
That is so fucking impressive because Brad Pitt still looks like a fucking athlete in this movie. He looks like he's 42.
Because you could title the movie. You can't call it F2. That's not a real thing. That's a joke.
No,
a
F2 is a
serious
thing.
title.
So
is
the other part of
shirtless gilfs on a beach.
the other part of F1 that I learned in the Netflix series is there's an F2, 3, and 4. There's minor leagues for F1.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So there's drivers that work their way up from F4 up to F1.
Oh, so would Idris, or not Idris, Idris, would Joshua Pierce, would he have been sent down to like 2, 3, or 4?
Yeah, he probably would have drove an F2 had he not found a spot in F1.
And then I'm assuming that if he gets sent down from F1, it's going to take him winning a lot in F2 to then get another spot in F1 after failing so poorly.
Yeah, something to that effect, yeah.
Are you done with F1?
Yeah, it's a good movie. If you got time, go see it. Good popcorn movie. It's hard to talk about, as you just listened to us two idiots try to talk about this movie. But if you like Brad Pitt, you'll like this movie.
Let's get into MacSack.
And MacSack could be anything it could be about. And Mac, I would like to talk to you about dicks.
Oh, Cox. All right.
No, sporting's good. Sporting good.
Sure.
And I think the biggest dicks, the cleanest dicks, the best dicks is in Boston.
Circumcised.
No, Boston. The one on on Boylston Street. And I was in there yesterday, and this is a serious conversation.
Is this a paid advertisement? What's going on right now?
This is a real conversation I had with my 4-year-old son.
Okay.
Everyone's going to say this is made up. This is AI. No.
As long as you didn't tweet it out. If you tweeted it out, people would say that's false. This didn't happen.
Okay, so what happened? We were in there. Right now, 50% off Drew Holiday and Kristaps Porzingis jerseys.
Okay.
They have been traded, not to get sportsy. They have been traded from the Celtics.
Yes.
I said, they're still both champions. It's okay for you to keep on wearing these jerseys.
Agreed.
So we're in the kids section, and we're looking at them, and he looks at me, and he goes, Daddy, I want the black number 7 jersey. And I said, oh, no, that's brown. And he goes, no, it's black. And I'm like, well, and then he goes, well, no, how about the number 9 jersey? And I go, oh, that's white. He goes, no, it's black.
What does mine say? Dude, what does mine say? Sweet. That was a real life situation there.
Yeah. A real life situation. Who's
that
on
makes
first?
sense. That makes sense. So what jersey did you end up purchasing?
None. They didn't have any smalls.
So just
they
a
also
big
had
tease.
their backs because Rafael Devers jerseys also on sale 50% off. But it had to say Devers on the back. You couldn't just get a Red Sox number 11.
Okay. I agree with your sentiment, though, in general. If it was a beloved player on a championship team, that jersey becomes timeless. You can buy a Devers, you can buy a Holiday, you can buy a Porzingis, you can wear it forever.
Oh, I had to buy them online after I went on Fanatics. Big sale. I saved $66 on my buy, so
pretty good.
It doesn't matter how much I spent.
No,
I saved $66. Mac, where can the folks find us?
You can find us on I got tongue tied. You can find us on X and on Instagram at Mac and Goo Podcast. Every other platform, we are Mac & Goo. That includes Facebook, Stitcher, TuneIn, Spreaker,
wherever you can find podcasts.
iHeartRadio. We're on Spotify, but more importantly, we're on Apple Podcasts. Get on there, rate, review, subscribe, 5 stars if you do that. We may never get you a free t-shirt from Watertown Sportswear. It's Watertown Sportswear, 34 Mount Auburn Street in Watertown. WatertownSportswear.com, expert screen printing and embroidery.
tpublic.com.
You just moved your camera.
Check us out at the end of the week. I would like to do Jurassic World. If Max sees it, that'd be great.
I would like to do 28 years later. If Goose sees it, that'd be great.
I'm not sure if I'll be seeing that this week, so
I'm not sure if I'll be seeing Jurassic World this week. So maybe we'll be doing a dump.
Let's do 2 separate podcasts. I'll just talk about one movie while you talk about the other one.
And we'll mute each other, and then you can piece up the audio afterwards.
I've often thought about offering that to people. I can give you just Max audio if you want. I have it separate.
And stitch it like a TikTok.
Yeah, and like if you want, I can get rid of the silences and just have one solid 45-minute of just Mac.
There you go. How about
I
that?
wouldn't recommend the me part of it, but yeah, so check us out at the end of the week. We will have something. Tuesdays or Goose Days. I abuse kangaroos. Tim Burton.
Bye.
Please flip the cassette over to side B to continue the adventure.
Now it's time for girls jumping on trampolines.